I'm sorry. No. There's a mistake. Moonlight, you guys won Best Picture.
How's it going, everybody? This is Dailies to Downloads. My name is Chad. With me is Eric. And the Oscars are still upon us. We've done a few award season related shows. But this one, we're just going to talk about our favorite Oscar moments. And I
heard they've budged on the people showing up to the broadcast to give speeches, right? I heard that they were going to renege a little bit about.
Oh, really?
These to I don't know, zoom in, but because they did get a lot of flack, mostly because of us. I think they felt the pressure.
I have no doubts they saw our show and
they were like,
"Oh,
all right,
God, guys,
you guys were pretty harsh. We've taken it back to the board and we've revised our no recorded speech policy." Which
we're taking partial credit for sure.
We're making an impact.
But as we were talking about before this, a lot of times some of the best Oscar moments are the most memorable, and sometimes those moments can be memorable for good reasons or bad. If you're talking about the Moonlight mistake, not too long ago.
Would you say that's objectively the biggest moment in Oscar history in a way?
It's certainly one of them.
I personally never thought that would ever happen, and I especially never thought it would happen for the biggest award of the day.
Right.
And now I think it will never ever happen again. So in that sense,
I'm sure they're going to take steps to make sure that doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah, I could never.
It was so weird. I remember watching it, just kind of dumbfounded at what was happening.
Yeah, it was always the kind of. It was always the kind of thing of well, whatever happened if someone read the wrong thing on the card, right? Because that was an urban legend about Marissa Tomei winning. Yeah, that was always an urban legend. But look, we literally found out what would happen if somebody read the wrong thing on the card.
Yeah,
man would run out on stage, and
that's the thing. That's the thing with somebody like Jack Palance. I could totally see not taking anything away from Marissa Tomei. I could totally see him being a stubborn old man who was just like, screw it.
But they do give them the envelope usually, It's just so to verify. It was incredible moment.
Yeah. So when I discussed this topic before we got on the air with my wife, we both actually said the same moment, which was Roberto Benini at the 1999 Oscars. He actually won 2 Oscars that night, Best Foreign Film and Best Actor. But when he accepted the award for Best Foreign Film, which was Life is Beautiful, it was a very ostentatious, a very genuine reaction. He got up on his chair and, stood on the chair, and he walked on top of the chairs, down to the ramp. Sophia Loren was the one who presented it to him, by the way.
Oh yeah, which also kind of felt pre-Italian, from one Italian to another, right?
Right, exactly. So there was that element, and he hopped up the stairs, and he got a standing ovation because obviously he's a comic. So his acceptance was silly in a way, but it was genuine. And I think you never were going to expect him to show up there a lot at the Oscars. He makes a lot of movies, but some people only get one chance to really make it to that extent. And that was certainly his, and he lived it up in that way. So that's one that I've seen many times, and it is a cool moment for me. But we'll talk about some of our backup choices.
Is that your favorite? That is your?
That would probably be my favorite. But what's your favorite?
So for me, the one that again, I guess what do you mean favorite? For me, the one that I remember, I had a VHS of Oscar's greatest moments. That was at the end of the 90s. It came out, and this is before YouTube and stuff. So all I had for old telecasts was this VHS tape, and it was hosted by Academy President Carl Malden at the time, and it was 90 minutes. You could probably find it on YouTube now, but that was all I had. So So I remember being maybe 11, 12, and being stunned. So I'm going to choose it for this reason because I was shocked. I didn't know what the hell was happening. When the 1973 ceremony, when Marlon Brando won Best Actor, which became infamous immediately for him denouncing the award and refusing to accept it, but then sending up Sacheen Littlefeather, who came up and was chosen because of the Wounded Knee occupation in South Dakota at the time. Again, these are not things I would ever really known about if it wasn't for this, right? And also, to me, that was the most notable example of there are so many political speeches to choose from, and they're usually in the moment. It's like I do think that now 50 years later, like, it is impressive that you can say, like, well, to a certain group like Sacheen Littlefeather, and like what that means,
Right.
and you get what that reference is. Like 2 years earlier, George C. Scott had won for Patton. He didn't accept, but the producer accepted it, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
This was like actually setting up someone in full Native American garb, and people didn't know, and people started booing once a little bit. And that was, shocking to me. And that is like, when I think of the Oscars, for some reason, that's one of the first. It was Roger Moore and Liv Ullmann who presented Best Actor. And that was the first, like, kind of like, what is this? I don't understand what's going on here. Moments for me.
Yeah, and I just saw that clip of that recently, and it was bookended with clips of Brando talking about him being against that and his strong feelings for it, but then it showed her going up to accept the award. And it's interesting to hear you say that, like, it kind of introduced you to what was going on, and why, like, he refused to accept the award, because these days a lot of times when actors go up and they talk about political things or issues in the world, a lot of times we don't like to hear it, and we want to just have them accept the award and move on, as Ricky Gervais said not so eloquently at the Globe.
Which is exactly how it was received back in 1973. I mean, that's how people felt then. These liberal Hollywood people with their, why don't they give their money to these, the same things that we give when we hear Joaquin Phoenix talk about not drinking milk in his coffee because, cows. I understand what he's getting, but we all, history repeats itself.
Yeah. But yes, that's definitely a memorable moment for sure. And some of the ones, I don't know that I've ever seen the clip in full of Sally Field's iconic speech. You like me, you really like me. I've seen gifs of it, certainly, and but that clip is hard to find on YouTube. At least it was when I looked for it. But
it's funny, like, I would put that with, like, the Roberto Benini, like, which I don't like. I mean, I don't like Roberto Benini at all, and just remembering him now is just making me feel it was like such a lightning in a bottle moment. And, like,
sure, yeah,
I mean, everything I'm not a huge Life is Beautiful fan, but even beyond that, I mean, everything else he's made has been pretty
not good.
rough.
Yeah, not good.
So it was just the Sally Field.
I haven't seen the new Pinocchio that he was in, but
wasn't he in Pinocchio already, like 10 years ago? 15?
He was, which was not good at all. But he's in this
that again? I don't know. But yeah, Sally Field's the "You Like Me, You Really Like Me" is also one of those over the top moments.
I would never have known about that had I not seen The Mask with Jim Carrey, where he recreates that moment, which is an odd connection. But another moment that I really liked a lot, which wasn't super memorable other than the fact of who won, was Martin Scorsese winning Best Director finally after so many years, and the fact that it was Scorsese, it was
Spielberg,
Francis Ford Coppola and Spielberg and George Lucas presenting the award to him, which was very memorable. So that was also one, and the fact that The Departed won that year, and I thought that movie should win, which never happens, where I match up with what the Oscars are picking. So yeah, that would definitely be a backup choice for me.
That's also a good example of like I always wonder. Obviously, the directors of the telecast or whatever like don't necessarily know the winners, but if you're going to have those three filmmakers together presenting Best Director, we all okay. That's a good sign that like Scorsese wins, right? Like
Right, and when it
like,
happened, like in retrospect, you look back on it and you're like, "Oh wow, this is obvious, isn't it?" But at the time, like he had not won so many times that when you
yeah.
see those three up there, you're like, "Oh my gosh, if he doesn't win now," like,
Yeah. And I think he said like, "Oh, my film school friends" or
right,
whatever, you know. Or when Catherine Bigelow won and Barbara Streisand presented it,
right,
like because she's notoriously snubbed by the Academy, and then to give it to the first woman, like it's like it's so. I don't think the people who are putting these things together know the winners. I think those are two separate things. Price
right.
Waterhouse is not connected to the people directing the telecast, but it does feel in those moments, those are some of the more memorable ones, right? Where the presenter matches like the Sophia Loren
Right.
with the award.
And I like the genuine acceptance speeches, the ones where they do show emotion. Like sometimes by the time the awards for best actor or best actress, by the time they accept those awards at the Oscars, they've won so much that like their speeches are either recycled or that lack the emotion that you would expect. Not all the time, certainly, but sometimes that does happen. So a lot of the lower level awards where it's the first time they're getting an award for whatever obscure short or movie they made, or even if they have a small part in making said movie, is really cool to see always when they have that genuine reaction.
That's true. Like I feel like now we have so many precursor awards that I don't blame the actors. I mean, you got to kind of recycle speech, right? I mean,
Right,
I feel like when Jamie Foxx won for Ray, he had won everything, and like, what could he do? Like, there's only so many ways you can
right,
say the same speech and like try
right,
to make it. Matthew McConaughey, like it was just like by the time you get to that point, we've all kind of heard it.
right.
Um,
So
um,
a follow-up
yeah.
question: what do you have a favorite category? Is there a category you like really look forward to seeing who wins every year? Is there anything that comes to mind?
Wow.
Me, while you think about it, because for me,
Okay.
it would probably be best director. As I've become more of a
Yeah.
movie buff over the years, that's always the one that I look forward to the most. Not because, oh, that means they're going to win best picture. It's just because I've grown to really appreciate directing a lot the more movies I watch. And so when the person who made the movie gets recognized for it, that's always a cool thing to see. And will be a
Yeah.
cool thing this year as we see, I assume, another female win, which I assume that's going to happen, but you never know. So,
I wonder. It'll be interesting to see who presents that award, Best Director, this year. It'll be if they get Catherine Bigelow to do it. I don't know.
that would be fun.
Yeah. But I am very, very upset that now they've gotten rid of sound mixing. Very upset. They've combined these two sound categories into one. Damn it.
Yeah.
I want 24 categories back, not 23.
And if anybody watched the documentary Making Waves, the two are very different things.
Yes. Yes. But that was always like in everyone's Oscar pools, oh, if I check this one for this, I'm choosing it for the other one,
Right.
and they decided to consolidate the categories, whatever. But anyway, I'm just joking about that. I guess I'll pick a different one. The director would probably be, but like also like I think best documentary, just because maybe even more so for the nominees because I feel like the documentary branch had been like criticized in the past for like passing over like a lot of the more critically acclaimed documentaries of the year.
Right.
Starting way back from Hoop Dreams when that got snubbed, and then like
Right.
throughout the years there will be a bunch. So I feel like they've really improved, at least with the crop of nominees. Sometimes the winners are still pretty populist, but that's always, and because they're documentary filmmakers, there's always usually an interesting story to the speech, in a way that is not it's a little bit different than a narrative film.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I guess documentary as well. And this is not a competitive category, but like one thing I sort of miss is that in the past 10 years or so, all the tributes have been taken off the ceremony and are on their own show like 4 months earlier. The
Right.
Irving Thalberg Award and Gene Herschel, that used to be
Yeah.
a part of the Academy telecast, but then the complaints about it's too long, it's blah blah blah. They've shifted them to like a private ceremony.
Yeah, the
I kind of
lifetime
miss that.
achievement stuff. I always loved those as well.
Yeah, like one of the big things for me is that like for the Academy Awards are the montages, which
Yeah.
as long as they're a little bit out of the box and more creative,
Because
and I don't just mean
you get to see kind of the cliche, the magic of the movies, and you're reminded of why you love it when you watch stuff like that when they are well done.
Yeah. So I kind of wish some of those tributes they probably will never come back onto the main show, but it would be speaking of like the things linking up, like when Sidney Poitier got his tribute in 2002 ceremony, and he's still with us. He's 94. I can't believe it. But that was also the night that Halle Berry won and Denzel won, which was historic. And then when Denzel wins, he's like, he said he looks at Sidney Poitier in the box seating, like, I've been chasing you all my life, and what do? They give it to me on the same night, and then he holds up his Oscar, Poitier holds up his Oscar. Like, it's one of those like you can't plan it moments,
Right?
And that we without having those on the show anymore, you can't actually have,
Right. True.
Yeah, I do miss that.
Absolutely. Well, those are our picks. Let us know what your picks are, and I will be anxious to see the ceremony when it eventually arrives. It feels like forever at this point.
We're almost there. I mean, at this point, we're in the home stretch.
I can't wait to see what the ratings are, and usually I don't care, but I am anxious to see what the ratings are.
So, did you watch any of the SAG Awards?
A couple minutes of it. My wife watched the entire thing, which I think was an hour. But
yeah, because that was pre-recorded.
Yeah, it was, and he had me come up to see the grandmother from
Minari. Yeah,
accept her award, which certainly kind of makes that category now harder to predict. So
yeah, I actually didn't like the winners didn't leak, so I actually didn't mind the production values because it actually worked more seamlessly.
Right,
I did it that way.
Yeah.
So,
well, we will see what happens. Let us know what you think. What's your favorite Oscar moment? Check out my other show, The Nitty Gritty. And for Eric, my name is Chad, and we will see you next week.